Notre prochain orateur vient des États-Unis. C'est Monsieur le gouverneur Ed Rendell. Monsieur Rendell était gouverneur de Pennsylvanie depuis 2003 jusqu'au début de cette année. Et durant l'élection présidentielle de 2000, il a été le président général du comité national du Parti démocrate.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and I only have one complaint. This is the second time I've spoken on this subject, once in Washington with the Northern California Iranian American community, and now here today in Geneva. And on both occasions, I had to follow Governor Dean. Now, if you look at our backgrounds, they're very similar. We were both governors of a state. We were both chairman of the National Democratic Party. And I wonder always why he gets to go first. Because the truth is, Pennsylvania is a very big state, and Vermont is a very little state. But I thought about it, and it occurred to me, when he was chairman of the Democratic Party, we won the presidential election. When I was chairman of the Democratic Party, we got the most votes, but we lost the presidential election. But it is always a difficult time to follow Governor Dean because he is such a great and charismatic speaker, and he lays out the facts well and strikes the right emotional chord. But I want to talk to you a little bit from a different perspective, because Howard was governor not during the time of our involvement in Iraq and Afghanistan. I was. When I started running for governor, I had no idea that so much of what I did as governor would be affected by foreign affairs. I knew that the governor of Pennsylvania becomes automatically the commander-in-chief of the Pennsylvania National Guard, but the Pennsylvania National Guard had never been deployed in international conflict, or Army National Guard. We hadn't lost a guardsman in an international conflict since World War II. But in 2003, my first year as governor, a young National Guard sergeant from Wilkes-Barre was struck down and became the first Pennsylvania Guardsman to die in a foreign conflict. And during my 8 years as governor, almost 30 Pennsylvania Guardsmen died in Iraq, many more in Afghanistan as well. And I've been in politics for 34 years. I've run for office 14 times. I'm almost never at a loss for words. But the hardest thing I've ever had to do in any of the jobs I've held politically, mayor, district attorney, governor, chairman, was get on the phone with the parents or the wife of the men, and in one case, woman, who were struck down thousands of miles from their home. And the parents always had one question: Governor, why? And to be honest, I wasn't sure why myself. I wasn't sure that we were doing the right thing by being involved. I hoped that our involvement and the sacrifices that these guardsmen and men and women throughout the United States were making were being made in the name of freedom. I hoped that when all was said and done, we would have achieved a free and democratic Iraq, an Iraq that believed in democracy and believed in human rights. That I'm not sure that if those parents of those guardsmen were in the front two rows today, and they asked me why why their son, or in one case their daughter, died in Iraq, I'm not sure I could give them the same answer. I gave them the answer because I believed that was the goal. That was what we, the United States, were striving for. And I believe in all my heart that that's what the United States has always represented. Since the day that we got our own freedom, 237 years ago, since the day we got our own freedom, we've stood for freedom around the world. The American Revolution spawned revolutions all over, people in the name of freedom following the American example. When the students in Tiananmen Square rallied against Chinese oppression, they held up a replica of the Statue of Liberty. It's what America is all about. I was never prouder of our country than when President Clinton ordered American military might to protect the Kosovar Muslims from genocide. And we succeeded. And 500,000, maybe 1 million Kosovar Muslims are alive today because of what America did. And I looked at, of course, Camp Ashraf, and then I went back and looked at the facts. And Howard laid out the facts very clearly. But think of what our response has been. We, the United States of America, the country that always has, in our own mind, been the protector of freedom, the beacon of liberty, we gave our promise in writing to every one of the residents of Camp Ashraf. And how have we lived up to that promise? Well, we turned over the security of Iraq to the Maliki government in the beginning of 2009. And the first thing the Maliki government did is wall off Camp Ashraf. No journalists, no American or UK elected officials, no relatives anymore. And then shortly thereafter, the first massacre occurred. The massacre occurred virtually in the presence of the United States military forces who were ordered not to intervene and not to act. What did we do? Well, the State Department issued a strong condemnation. A year later, Secretary Clinton, who I have the utmost respect and admiration for, condemned the death sentences being carried out in Iran against people who had the temerity to visit their relatives at Camp Ashraf. Death sentences, public executions. And then the massacre in 2011 occurred. Again, U.S. military were ordered to withdraw from the scene. We didn't even provide quick medical care when we had the ability to do so. And what was our answer, what was our response to the massacre of 2011? We issued a strong message of condemnation. At a congressional hearing in July, a State Department official by the name of Mr. Feltman was asked what America's response was going to be to this latest massacre. And he said, well, we issued a message of condemnation. And he said, we're trying to find a way to protect the residents of Camp Ashraf, but we have to recognize Iraqi sovereignty. Well, messages of condemnation aren't enough. That's not what 4,500 Americans gave their lives up for in Iraq and Afghanistan. That's not what our country spent billions and billions of our own dollars at a time when we could be using that for so many things that we need to do in the United States. That's not what we gave that money for. That's not what we gave the treasure of our young men and women for. We gave it because we were going to protect democracy. We were going to bring democracy to Iraq. We were going to bring freedom and human rights to Iraq. Messages of condemnation just won't cut it. And now, the leading State Department official, the ambassador, says we're favoring a plan to relocate the residents in other parts of Iraq. A plan that everyone who knows anything about what's going on in Iraq says is dangerous, is foolhardy, is a prescription for disaster. It simply isn't enough. You know, people say that the issue of what's going to happen to the residents is separate and apart from whether we should lift the terrorist designation on the MEK. In some ways, that's true. Even if the MEK was a terrorist organization, people deserve to be protected. Nobody deserves to be slaughtered. Women do not deserve to be shot down when they're defenseless, totally defenseless. But we know that those issues are related. And what have we done about the effort to remove the terrorist designation on the MEK? An effort that succeeded in the European Union, in the UK. What have we done? We've stalled and we've delayed. We've even now violated the court order about when we were supposed to announce the results of our own review. And when Mr. Feltman was asked by the Congress about it, he couldn't tell the Congress when the State Department was going to release the findings of its review. And we all know that an independent, fair review would lead to the same action as the EU and the UK. The finding, as Howard and others have said, is replete with political overtones and with factual mistakes. Congressman Rohrabacher said that he was told by a representative of the UN Commission on Human Rights, Mr. Koshatel, that the terrorist designation is the main stumbling block for relocating the residents of Camp Ashraf to other countries of the world. The State Department must act. We must lift the terrorist designation, and we must do it soon. Governor Dean said that this is really a test for the United States of America. He's undoubtedly correct. It's a test for the things that we talk about, the things that we say we believe in. When President Obama ordered American participation in the effort to prevent genocide in Libya, where the people of Benghazi were ticketed for extinction, he was criticized by a lot of people. I supported him, not because he's a Democrat, but I supported him because I believe if America stands for anything, it's the protection of human life, of innocent human life. We can't, we should not, never, ever stand by. What happened in Darfur without the international community taking a strong stance and taking preventative action was not just a U.S. disgrace, but an international disgrace. So surely the U.S. should act. If the Maliki government won't protect, and we know they won't, we should take back the duty and the obligation to protect the residents of Camp Ashraf. We should insist with the UN, and this is also a test, the governor is right, it's a test for America, what we're all about, but it's a test for the United Nations, it's a test for the world community. We can't wait. As Irene said, the clock is ticking. The UN has to move quickly, get an independent investigation, get an independent monitoring team, and have the United States provide the security for that independent monitoring team. The US, the EU, the UK, the UN, every freedom-loving person in this world has to act soon and can't wait any longer. Thank you.